There are moments in history that transcend the battlefield, moments when the clash of armies becomes the crucible in which the fate of nations is decided. The Battle of Stalingrad was such a moment. It began in the heat of summer 1942, when Adolf Hitler launched Operation Blue, a sweeping offensive aimed at capturing the oil fields of the Caucasus. Fuel was the lifeblood of the German war machine, and with it, Hitler believed he could secure victory over the Soviet Union. But standing on the path to that oil lay a city that bore immense symbolic weight, Stalingrad. An industrial hub on the banks of the Volga, it produced tanks, weapons, and machinery. But more importantly, it carried the name of Joseph Stalin himself. For Hitler, conquering Stalingrad would deal a mortal blow to Soviet morale. For Stalin, losing it was unthinkable. The two dictators would throw their armies into a struggle of annihilation, and the world would watch as the fate of World War II was decided in the ruins of a single city. By late August, the German Sixth Army under General Friedrich Paulus, supported by the 4th Panzer Army and the Luftwaffe, reached Stalingrad's outskirts. On August 23rd, the German Air Force unleashed a firestorm. Thousands of bombs rained down, turning entire neighborhoods into infernos. Tens of thousands of civilians were killed in a single day. The city that Hitler sought to capture intact was reduced to rubble. But in that rubble lay the seeds of German defeat, for the ruins provided the Soviet defenders with cover, strong points, and endless opportunities for ambush. Stalin declared that Stalingrad would not fall. Not one step back became the command. General Vasily Chukov and his 62nd Army took charge of the defense. Chukov understood that to survive, his men had to deny the Germans their greatest advantage, maneuver and firepower. He ordered his troops to fight at close quarters, clinging to the enemy, making artillery and air support nearly useless. The battle that followed became known as the Rattenkrieg, the War of the Rats. Soldiers fought not only in streets, but in sewers, basements, factories, and stairwells. Every building became a fortress, every wall a front line. The city's factories, the tractor plant, the Barricadi Armaments Works, the Red October steel plant, turned into arenas of apocalyptic combat. Workers who once built tanks now picked up rifles to defend their factories. Smoke, fire, and steel filled the air as men battled from one machine hall to another. Entire battalions were annihilated over the course of a single-day struggle for a single room. The Germans advanced block by block, paying for every street in blood. In this maelstrom, legends were born. One was Pavlov's house, a 4-story apartment building captured and defended by Sergeant Yakov Pavlov and his men. They fortified it with barbed wire, machine guns, and minefields, holding out against wave after wave of German attacks for nearly 2 months. Artillery and tanks could not dislodge them. General Chukov later remarked that more Germans died trying to take Pavlov's house than the entire campaign for Paris. The building became a living symbol of Soviet determination. Another legend was Vasily Zaitsev, a sniper from Siberia. In the shattered ruins, Zaitsev turned the city into his hunting ground. He concealed himself in wreckage, under rubble, or within shadows, striking down hundreds of German soldiers. His tally climbed into the hundreds, and his name spread through the ranks as a symbol of deadly precision and patience. The Germans dispatched their own elite marksmen to hunt him down, sparking duels that passed into legend. Zaitsev endured, his skill inspiring a new generation of Soviet sharpshooters. The battle was not confined to soldiers alone. Civilians, trapped in the inferno, or unimaginable suffering. With no chance to evacuate, families took shelter in cellars and ruins. Food and water were scarce, and crossing the Volga under fire to fetch water became an act of daily heroism. Women dug trenches, carried supplies, and nursed the wounded. Children hauled ammunition to the front lines. Survival itself became a form of resistance. The people of Stalingrad refused to yield, even as their city was consumed by fire and ruin. By November 1942, the Germans controlled nearly all of Stalingrad, pushing the Soviet defenders to a narrow strip of land along the Volga. Hitler boasted that victory was imminent. But while the Germans bled in the ruins, the Soviets prepared a counterstroke. Operation Uranus, a massive encirclement plan, targeted the flanks of the German Sixth Army, which were held not by hardened German troops, but by Romanian, Hungarian, and Italian allies, poorly equipped and overstretched. On November 19, the Soviet offensive erupted. Thousands of guns unleashed a storm of artillery, followed by waves of tanks and infantry. The Axis flanks collapsed almost immediately, and within days the jaws of the Soviet pincer snapped shut. The Sixth Army, nearly 300,000 strong, was encircled in Stalingrad. Paulus requested permission to attempt a breakout, but Hitler forbade it. He declared that the Sixth Army would hold its ground and be supplied by air. But the Luftwaffe could not meet the demands. The trapped soldiers needed 700 tons of supplies a day. Barely a fraction was delivered. The men began to starve and freeze as the winter descended. The encirclement became a frozen hell. Temperatures plunged to minus 30 degrees. Ammunition dwindled, fuel ran out, and frostbite crippled thousands. Soldiers slaughtered their horses for food, then boiled belts, boots, and leather straps to create meager meals. Corpses lay unburied, frozen in grotesque poses across the battlefield. Soviet artillery and bombers pounded the pocket day and night. The once proud German Sixth Army was reduced to a starving, shivering mass of men awaiting inevitable destruction.